I had to wear a flannel for this one. I wouldn't want you guys to think I'm a hetero. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Kelly. We're here to talk about books. Today I'm drinking orange juice in a mug for the aesthetic, and we're going to talk about some gay books because it's Pride Month, and I have a good list. Some of them are the same old, look, I'm a simple woman. Song of Achilles is on this list, but I think a good handful of them will be ones that most people haven't heard of, haven't read, so let's just get into it. Let's stop the preamble. Let's get started. The first book I want to talk about, look, if you take one recommendation from this video, take this one. That's why it's first. The book is Girls at the Edge of the World by Laura Brooke Robson. This book is a self-published YA fantasy. I honestly went in with pretty level expectations. YA is getting less and less to be my thing. So I was like, meh, I don't know. And then I ended up just obsessed with it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for days at least. So let's give you a little rundown. We follow Natasha and Ella. Natasha is the leader of the Royal Flyers, who are a group of aerial dancers. They like swing around on those silk things that hang from the ceiling. It's so visual and physical, and it adds just that one thing adds so much to just the immersion of the world, and it's so like bright and beautiful, and the rest of the world is so like gray and bleak, and it's just, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Natasha is the leader of this group. Ella infiltrates this group in order to gain access to the palace and exact a little revenge plot. I won't give you any more than that. The relationship that develops between Ella and Natasha, so slow burn. It's so realistic. It's just beautiful. And their relationships with other people, both like friendships, old flames, that kind of thing, really just well done. Aside from the relationship, it's the world building that I think makes this book so special. I'm so upset that there is no sequel and not any plan for a sequel. But basically, this world periodically floods, like Noah's Ark level floods. And one of these floods is on the horizon. Like, it'll be here any week now, basically. A lot of the culture of the world is based around that. They're going to have to figure out how to survive, as like the human species is going to have to figure out how to survive. And so much of the religion and the customs of the world are based around these floods. And specifically, the religion is formed around a ship's log from a captain who survived the previous flood, which is so brilliant. It's just like ocean and the bleak gray beauty and these pops of color, and it's just, oh, it's so good. I loved this book so much. I want to read it again. I cried. I don't know, man. I'm a simp for this book, and please, okay, let's move on. Let's get one of the okay duh recommendations over with, and we'll just talk about Song of Achilles. If you're somehow not familiar, if this is like the first video about books that you've ever watched, the Song of Achilles is about Achilles and Patroclus and follows them through the story of the Trojan War and whatever. But it is just, oh man, the love story is the best. The best. And they were roommates, you know? Look, the Song of Achilles will give you emotional damage, but it's worth it. You can thank me later. The writing is just gold. I'm sorry for all like the color descriptions that I'm giving of these books, but like when a book leaves a real impression with me, it gets a little color palette in my head, and when I think of the Song of Achilles, it is just gold and green and like just beautiful, like glittering. Like the prose is so spectacular, so immersive, so poetic. I can so clearly see all of the characters, the settings, all of it, and like feel the anguish that I felt when I was reading it. Beyond good. Moving on. Oh, the next book is The Grace Keepers. I don't even know how to describe this book. Okay. This book is by Kirsty Logan. Callanish lives in the middle of the ocean on this bleak little island, Can you tell I like gray books? Anyway, Callanish is in charge of doing like buried at sea type like funeral rituals. It's part of a punishment for something that she did in her past. North, meanwhile, is the bear girl on a floating circus. So she lives on a boat and she just has a bear that like is her companion. They perform together, but she also takes care of the bear and like he sleeps in her cabin. Thank you, Bosco. How'd that feel in your head, bub? It's kind of rude. Anyway, about the Gracekeepers. This is another one where the world building is just incredible. It's another flooded world, actually, that's made up of a bunch of islands, basically. There's like the islands are all that's left, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't even know what to tell you about the plot. It's very slow. There's some Scottish folklore influence. It's just about these two women finding themselves and each other. Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. The first book I think I ever read where a character calls herself bisexual out loud, and my little heart went, I don't read a lot of contemporary and I don't read a lot of sci-fi, so I don't really read many books where the word bisexual would even be in the like verbal landscape of the book. And her experience, I don't even remember the name of the character who says it, but she like talks a little bit about her like experience as a bisexual woman. I just saw myself a lot in it and I appreciate it. So let's talk about what this book actually is. Any romance or anything to do with it in this book is incredibly tangential. This is actually a horror sci-fi, and it is about killer mermaids in the Mariana Trench, and it is genuinely terrifying. Like, actually, I'm scared of these mermaids. 7 years prior to the start of the book, there was a mockumentary crew that went to the Mariana Trench to make a mockumentary about mermaids living there, and everybody disappeared. Like, they found the ship just empty, everybody gone, and there was some footage that was very disturbing, but a lot of people think that it was a hoax created by this mockumentary company. So at the start of the book, the mockumentary company is funding a trip to the Mariana Trench to find out what happened, and they're bringing a bunch of like real scientists and stuff. It follows a bunch of different people. The representation in this book is actually peak. Like, there's people of all kinds of sexualities, all kinds of ethnic backgrounds, all kinds of races, all kinds of things. And it's just like good and scary. And I don't read scary books, so if you read scary books, you probably don't think this book is very scary, but there's just something about what's down there in the deep that is chilling to me. And these particular mermaids are just absolutely like the uncanny valley of them. I would also recommend the audiobook. It was a very immersive experience, and sometimes hearing it is a little creepier. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it. Another obvious one, but I couldn't do this video without it, The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, and also the Dreamer trilogy, which is still coming out. These books are about an uppity trust fund kid who has too much time on his hands and too much money and is spending all of his time looking for a dead Welsh king, and a girl who is the daughter of psychics, lives in a family of all psychics, but she has no psychic powers. But she has been told her whole life that when she kisses her true love, they will die. So that's no pressure to put on a young girl at all. I'm sure that everyone in this story is psychologically well, and that there will be no cause for distress, and that it'll just be a good, fun time. I guess I should at least touch upon the LGBT representation in this book. So there is also some gay stuff. If you're like on bookish internet, you probably like it's everywhere, and these books are very popular, and the particular ship is incredibly popular, but I didn't know about it going in. So I'm not going to say who it is, even though you probably all already know anyway. So let's just talk about the next book, okay? Thank you. Let's get a classic in here, because I love old-timey lesbians. Okay, Carmilla by J. Sheridan Le Fanu is, oh man, is this book problematic? Yes. Is this book just a little weird? Yes. But is it also about lesbian vampires? Yes, it certainly is. This book was published in 1872. That's 25 years before Dracula, and it has freaking lesbians. And like, Again, yeah, it is a little bit problematic. Obviously, the vampire who is, I don't want to call her an aggressor in this context, but she kind of is an aggressor, literally demonized, like, so literal demonization of this female desire. But also, it is written pretty sexy. So it's kind of like, what are you doing here, Jay? Because I think you were kind of into it. Like, you can sit here and say that this lesbian vampire is a predator and, like, spawn of the devil all you want, but also you made it kind of hot. I should probably clarify that there's no actual sex in this book, but it's very sensual, and some of the confessions, and some of the things that Carmilla says to our main character, I don't even really want to tell you about the plot. You know what? I think lesbian vampire speaks for itself, so let's move on. This next book I read on some bright, beautiful autumn days. I would highly recommend reading it curled up, snuggled up, warm on some very cold winter days. The Raven and the Reindeer by T. Kingfisher. Okay, our protagonist, Gerta, has been in love with her childhood best friend, Kay, for her whole life, and when he gets stolen away by the Ice Queen, she follows to find him and bring him back home. Along the way, she meets a talking raven, and she meets a bandit girl, and shenanigans ensue. This is, of course, a retelling of the Snow Queen fairy tale. It is beautiful, visceral, and, like, there's some stuff, it's uncomfortable. Like, it's so immersive and so visceral that when the characters are uncomfortable, you feel uncomfortable. But wow, I loved it. This book, it has just a bizarreness to it that I adored. The characters are really fun. This is very much an awakening kind of story. At least partially, it is about the awakening of Gerta's sexuality and the feelings that she has, and these moments of kind of confusion, the realization that things are maybe not what she's always thought they were. It's so good, and it's so, just like, her reactions to things, the thoughts that she has are so just relatable. Like, you know, we were all baby gays once, and it's so good. Hi, little Gouda. You're being a love bug. You're being a love bug. Hello, baby. And last but not least, a book that I know you've heard of, but this book would not be complete without a book so gay that it was used to question the author for his sodomy trial, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Of course, iconic. So the thing about this book is that it is flamingly homosexual. I don't know if you know that, but this is another one that I have trouble believing that you're unfamiliar with the premise, but just in case, this book is about our good friend Dorian Gray, who basically makes a Faustian deal to keep his youth and beauty, and in exchange kind of sells his soul a little bit. So his friend Basil, who's a painter, paints a picture of Dorian. So already, that's a little fruity. He gives the painting to Dorian, and as Dorian morally descends throughout the course of the novel, and he is not aging, and he is not taking on any of the physical signs of the things that he's doing, his portrait is getting uglier and uglier and uglier, and it kind of haunts Dorian. This book is so pretentious. It is beautifully written. It is indulgent. Like, it's just, if you've ever just wanted to, like, throw yourself on a chaise lounge and pine, this is the book for you. I can give you nothing else. So that's my list. Those are my favorite gay books. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I hope that you got at least one good recommendation. And I hope that this is not just the same 4 gay books that you see in every other Pride recommendation video. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be around. So if you liked this video, I upload other ones sometimes too. You can follow me on Instagram. I have an Instagram, and I am slightly more active there than I am on here. We have a good time. But other than that, you know, happy rest of Pride Month, and like and subscribe, I guess. Come on!